In the evening of April 15, 2007, two high-end sports cars crashed into one of Dubai's most luxurious malls. 3 people spilled out of the cars and ran to their target, world-famous diamond boutique Lawrence Graff. As store clerks fled, the crew smashed display cases holding some of the most valuable diamonds money can buy. Precisely 53 seconds later, the thieves were back in the cars, speeding out the mall through the entrance they smashed through. These aren't just ordinary thieves, though. They are members of the highly calculated international gang known as the Pink Panthers. The Pink Panthers formed out of the Yugoslav wars in the 1990s, and its membership of hundreds comes primarily from Serbia. Organized crime emerged in this region as a means to escape poverty after the economic damages caused by these wars. The Panthers saw greater opportunity outside of Serbia and took their crime international, pulling off the most daring and lucrative heists seen in history.
Police arresting 5 suspected members of the notorious Pink Panther gang.
Switzerland, the hunt is continuing for 2 inmates who escaped for a prison with a pair of armed accomplices.
The robberies are the work of a shadowy network of master jewel thieves known as the Pink Panthers.
The Panthers first drew international attention when they targeted a different Graff jewelry store, this one located on London's famous Bond Street. The Panthers dressed in expensive suits and accessories, posing as ultra-wealthy clients shopping for their next piece of jewelry. Despite being disguised as normal clientele, the 2 men involved in this heist quickly caught store clerks off guard when they revealed fake guns and began to smash display cases. In less than 2 minutes, the duo fled the store with $30 million worth of diamonds. None of these diamonds were recovered, except for one, which was found in a jar of face cream in one of the suspects' hotel rooms, leading authorities to name the crime group the Pink Panthers, a reference to the famous movies.
It is my business to know that. He is Sir Charles Phantom, the notorious Lytton.
The Phantom?
Yes, one and the same. His calling card.
The Panthers make it look easy, but these incredibly efficient heists are the result of months of careful planning and preparation. When the Panthers have a target, whether it's a specific prized jewel or a vulnerable storefront, they move to its location and live there for a few months prior to the day of the heist. The purpose of this is to scout the area and figure out routines and any weaknesses they can exploit. The Panthers found attractive women dressed in designer clothes particularly effective, as store clerks were often eager to help them, even allowing them to try on jewelry only meant for display, giving the Panthers valuable insights into store layouts and what security mechanisms they should expect. Living in their target city also gives them information on things like traffic patterns, popular shopping areas, and the strength of police forces. Once comfortable in the new area, they craft a plan to rob a jewelry store or exhibit and quickly flee back to Serbia, where they are nearly impossible to extradite. Tokyo's Super Diamond Couture of Maki boutique was once home to the Comtesse de Vendôme, a diamond necklace valued at over $31 million, but it was also a target for the Pink Panthers. Just like their other robberies, a select few Panthers were chosen to live in the surrounding area for a few months prior to the heist. On March 5, 2004, they were ready to strike, but instead of luxury cars and expensive suits, they took a different approach. They dressed in protective clothing and gas masks, debilitating security with tear gas and stealing the jewels they were after. This was their fastest heist ever, totaling just 32 seconds. They timed this heist at 5 p.m. during peak rush hour, which was fitting for their escape plan, where they navigated through heavy traffic on bicycles, making it nearly impossible for police to catch them. Once they reached their getaway car parked in a remote area, they dropped the bikes and began disassembling the necklace while on the way to the airport, extracting the rare diamonds attached. Despite both suspects being arrested a few years later in different countries, the jewels were never recovered, forever lost on the black market. The diamonds that the Panthers steal are attached to jewelry like rings, necklaces, and tiaras. The pieces themselves are usually well known and extremely recognizable to any jeweler, making the stolen goods essentially worthless. This is why the Panthers immediately disassemble everything they steal, only keeping the diamonds or other valuable gems. After smuggling them back to Serbia, they check for tiny serial numbers that can be found engraved on most expensive gems, allowing them to be traced back to their legal owners. If they see any, they work with corrupted jewelers to polish them off, and sometimes even break the gems into smaller pieces, making the original gems indistinguishable to a buyer on the black market. Buyers on the black market pay a fraction of the publicly listed value, but with gems worth millions, it's still extremely lucrative for the Panthers. The diamonds are then traded through so many hands that they eventually land back on the legal market, where you may even find them in your standard mall. Throughout the early 2000s, the Panthers mastered their skills through dozens of heists, using blowtorches to break the smash-resistant glass at Boucheron in Paris, escaping on speedboats after raiding Julian in Saint-Tropez disguised as tourists, and stealing the $1 million Millennium necklace from a jewelry gallery hosted at the Venetian in Las Vegas. But the Panthers put everything together in 2007 during their most daring heists at the Wafi Mall in Dubai. The Panthers rented 2 Audi S8s and lined them up outside the mall facing each other. After months of careful planning, the Panthers calculated that they only had 2 minutes to breach the entrance, take the jewels, and escape before police arrived. The black Audi, its trunk loaded with weights, rammed through the entrance of the mall, driving in reverse to prevent the airbags from deploying, and continued speeding as shoppers jumped out of the way, with the white Audi following closely. Having already scouted the store dozens of times, 3 thieves barreled out the cars, running directly for the most expensive pieces of jewelry. 53 seconds was all it took for the Panthers to make off with $3.4 million in jewels, and they immediately began disassembling them as they raced down the empty highway to their getaway spot, where a third car was waiting. The opposite side of the highway, where the Panthers knew the police would come from, was at a standstill with heavy traffic, as they again intentionally performed this heist during rush hour. Once they reached their third getaway car, parked on an empty plot of land in between mansions under construction, they set fire to the Audis and got into their new car, a more modest blue Nissan. With an inconspicuous car, no police in sight, and an empty road ahead, they calmly drove to the airport and hopped on a plane back to Serbia, with a bag full of jewels. Many of these Panthers enjoyed a high life of extreme luxury for a few months immediately after a heist, renting yachts and throwing expensive parties until they ran out of money, signaling that it was time for their next heist. But the Panthers made a grave mistake during the Wafi Mall heist that would lead to the beginning of the end for the gang. One of the Audis they burned had its window left closed, preventing the inflow of oxygen to fuel the fire and leaving behind key evidence that police used to trace back to the suspects. The DNA and car rental records led to the Pink Panthers' mastermind, Mladen Lazovic, his girlfriend, Bojana Mitic, and his best friend, Milan Lapoja. This trio of thieves originated from Niš, Serbia, where some of the most esteemed among the Pink Panthers organization are from, and are linked to dozens of heists around the world. The entire organization, mostly hailing from Serbia, has no real hierarchy and instead operates in small groups at a time, drawing from a pool of hundreds of thieves, making them extremely difficult to track down. But the Dubai heist was their biggest act yet, drawing attention from the Panthers' biggest threat, Interpol. Interpol is the International Criminal Police Organization and is designed to take down transnational crime through the cooperation of nearly every country on Earth. After the Dubai heist was directly linked to the Panthers, Interpol issued a red notice under Operation Pink Panther, which alerted every country in the organization of the internationally wanted fugitives. This was a shock to the Panthers, who made sure to avoid this at all costs, and is why they avoided causing physical harm to people during their heists. They knew Interpol did not usually pursue theft, but instead more extreme things like murder, and is the reason why they always used fake weapons. By 2007, though, the Pink Panthers had grown to be a major problem globally, estimated to have stolen over $500 million worth of jewelry. The Pink Panthers were now internationally wanted criminals, and arrests began popping up in countries around the world. Interpol discovered that there were actually 8 people involved in Dubai's Wafi Mall heist. A few weeks after the heist, 2 of them, Malat Nikola and Mitli Milan, were arrested after a police stakeout outside the apartment the team rented in Dubai. Dusko Poznan was arrested later in Monaco, and Milan Lapoja was arrested shortly after in France. The 5th member, Yorko Elencic, was arrested in Spain in 2014. It took 14 years to arrest the heist mastermind, Mladen Lazovic. However, his girlfriend, Bojana, is the only one that was not arrested from the heist and is still on the run. Over the next decade, dozens of other Panthers have been arrested as a result of their own heists, some even greater than the early robberies. But these arrests have not discouraged the Panthers, and Interpol learned that the web of Pink Panthers stretched farther than they thought. The organization estimated that the Panthers could be as large as up to 800 members. Despite Interpol's efforts, heists continued. In 2013, a solo thief robbed a diamond exhibition held in Cannes, running off with $136 million in gemstones. In 2018, 5 Panthers targeted Paris's Ritz Hotel, stealing $5.4 million in jewels from a shop inside the hotel. 4 well-dressed Panthers broke into an art fair in the Netherlands, stealing a necklace worth around $25 million. But over the years, the number of heists linked to the Pink Panthers has decreased, and heists that were associated with them were sloppier than their early exploits, sometimes even getting caught in the planning phase. The core members of the group were either arrested or left to engage in other criminal endeavors, as it was becoming harder to get away with high-profile theft. This downfall was accelerated by Interpol's Red Notice, but the sheer size and decentralized structure of the organization makes it difficult to stop the Pink Panthers completely, and it's possible their operations continue for as long as there are jewels to steal.